Sometimes what seems to be just a little can mean a lot. Sometimes what seems to be just a little can mean an awful lot. Remember the movie Mary Poppins and the popular tune, just a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down. It's true not only in lyrics for a movie, but it's true of our lives. Small things can have a huge effect. The gospel talks about little things with a huge impact. Jesus is preaching to a large crowd of people. They're hungry, and Jesus, being very concerned always about the welfare of other people, understands their hunger and he wants to feed them. There's only a little boy with a few fish, a few loaves of bread that's available to feed the multitudes, and Jesus says, of course, that's not enough. So he asked the little boy to come forward and to give him what he had. And so the little boy, with a huge heart, with a generous spirit, gives everything. And the Lord blesses it and multiplies it, performs a miracle, and feeds the crowd of 5,000 people. A little bit, 5 loaves, a few fish, had a huge impact because God entered the picture. The little boy with a huge heart, through that generosity and through God's miraculous mercy, fed 5,000. And so it's true in our own lives. It's good to reflect upon how a little bit can have a huge impact. When it comes to having a big heart, Jesus had a big heart. He understood that the people were hungry, something simple as that. Because of his huge heart and his sensitivity, he fed the 5,000. Because of the huge heart of a little kid, 5,000 were fed. Do I realize? Do you ever pause to think about how the little things you do or the little things you say, coming from a big heart, can have a dramatic positive impact? I don't think I think about that enough. Think about, if ever in your life, when you performed just a small act of kindness, how it had a great impact on somebody's life, and you shook your head and said, that was nothing. Or said something very small and seemingly insignificant, and it touched someone's heart in a huge way, and you said, that was nothing. And yet those little seemingly nothing things, or nothing things that we say, really can touch people's heart. I remember hearing a story about a man who lived on a farm near a small town, and when he ever go to town, there was a man in the town who was the town drunk. And everybody kind of avoided the town drunk because he was usually 3 sheets to the wind, and his hygiene wasn't all that good. So nobody really talked to him. So one day the farmer went to town, and for some strange purpose, for some strange reason, he saw the man and was inspired and felt nudged to go and say something to the drunk man, the local town drunk. And so he did. He went up and engaged him in conversation, spoke from his heart, and left. A few days later, he received a note on his door saying, "You will never know how glad I was to have someone speak to me a few days ago. I was at the end of my life. No one seemed to care. And I was even thinking about doing away with my life. What you did seemed to be little, but it meant everything to me." When you feel that nudging within your soul, within your spirit, consider it. Consider what it is you're being nudged to do, and if it's something good and noble and great, even though seemingly small, do it, because it's God calling. It's God knocking on the door of your heart. I remember, I've told you this before, but it's always worth repeating because I remember this story very well. It occurred in my own life, and it's an occasion on which I failed. When I was in the seminary, there was a young man who left the seminary. He was from Nebraska, and he was given a job here in Des Moines at the Holiday Inn downtown. He called me one summer. I hadn't seen him for years, and he said, "I'm now in town, I'd like to see you. I said, I'll call you in a few days. A few days went by, I didn't call him. A week went by, he called me again. He said, I'd like to see you. I'd like to visit with you. And I said, well, I'll call you when I get back from retreat. All the while, I had this deep sense within me that I needed to respond to him. So I went on retreat and came back, opened the Des Moines Tribune, Saturday Tribune, headlines, 4 murdered in Holiday Inn burglary, Holiday Inn robbery. I didn't even need to read the first paragraph. My friend had been murdered. Now, obviously, I didn't cause the murder, but what that said to me, and I've often thought about that, these tiny little urgings that come within, this nudging that comes from within to do something good, God knows what people need. And He uses good people like you, good people throughout the world, to respond and to reach out, even in small, seemingly insignificant ways, to touch people's lives. When I was in Betania at the Shrine of Our Lady, I led a group there on pilgrimage. On the first day of the event, there were huge crowds of people from all over the United States visiting the shrine. And I noticed this one lady came up to me and she had a tag. It said Mary somebody other from Pennsylvania. And she said, "Are you Father Frank?" And I said, "Yes." Why? I don't know you, do I? She said, "Well," she said, "a year ago when you were in Medjugorje, you heard my confession and it changed my life." I heard many confessions there in Medjugorje. To me, it just didn't seem to be all that significant. And yet in some way, God used me to touch that person's life. Small things, seemingly small things, can have huge impacts. A poem talks about if I only knew, and it's talking about if I only knew what how little things can touch people's lives, and it goes like this. If I knew it would be the last time that I'd see you fall asleep, I would tuck you in more tightly and pray the Lord your soul to keep. If I knew it would be the last time that I see you walk out the door, I would give you a hug and kiss and call you back for one more. If I knew it would be the last time, I would spare an extra minute or two to stop and say I love you, instead of assuming you would know I do. If I knew it would be the last time I would be there to share your day, well, I'm sure you'll have so many more, so I can let just this one slip away. Tomorrow is not promised to anyone, young or old alike, and today may be the last chance you get to hold your loved one tight. So hold your loved ones close today, whisper in their ear. Tell them how much you love them and that you always hold them dear. Take time to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, or it's okay. And if tomorrow never comes, you'll have no regrets about today. Small things, huge impact. Lord, help us always to respond with generosity to those simple nudgings in our heart.